Hello, entrepreneurs. Joe DeCharis, CPA extraordinaire, coming to you live from downtown Bethpage, Long Island, New York, for another amazing episode of How to Win at Business, and also how to win at your personal income taxes. Because this is almost like Armageddon, folks, when it comes to dealing with the IRS. And I've been saying this for a long time. I love and respect the IRS workforce. They're loyal and dedicated civil servants. All of my dealings with them, for the most part, has been cordial and professional. My aunt and a number of other people I know work or have worked at the IRS. Friends of mine are former IRS agents, and kudos to anybody that works in government. Because it's not easy. It's really not easy, especially working for the IRS. Because when people find out, I can't even imagine the kind of comments and the looks and whatever that they may or may not go through. But I don't think it's like, oh, you work at the IRS. I've had nothing but great experiences. No, that's not what happens. What happens is people right away go to the negative. They probably blame the people that are working there. And I could tell you, just from an administrative standpoint, that when you have an organization, a business, a charity, any kind of situation that requires information gathering, processing, dealing with people, you need to have not only the right people, you need to be able to train them. You need to give them the tools and the resources so that they can do their job. So the IRS is notorious for having outdated systems, bad training. uh, I know when I get on the phone with them, because as a CPA, as a professional tax preparer, I get a special hotline, and I get to deal with uh, higher level, let's just say higher level IRS employees that they're not going to throw brand new employees that just got out of training into the wolves. I don't think they would. But to be honest with you, the last couple of months, the phone response time has definitely gotten better. It's gotten better. It's gotten easier for me to get through. So even though I have the tax professional hotline, I still go through. I still got to jump through hoops. I still got to call at the right times. And if you haven't heard me suggest this, it's not really a suggestion. It's advice, pragmatic advice that I got straight from the horse's mouth. That if you want to contact the IRS, the best time is Wednesdays and Thursdays, 20 to 30 minutes before they open. That's right, before they open. Don't call when they open, because there's already people ahead of you. It's like going to get a free COVID shot, and yeah, it's free if you're willing to stand online for 6 hours. But if you go before the place opens, you got a better shot at getting your shot. Uh, did I just say that you got a better shot at getting your shot? Yeah. Okay, that wasn't planned, and I didn't even plan on talking about COVID shots. I don't know how we got on this subject, but today, what we're going to talk about is tax scams. It amazes me, some of these scams that people come up with. I'm like, if they just spent the time and energy uh, on legitimate business endeavors, maybe they could make some money legitimately. But some people just want to spend their time and resources coming up with ways to get over. Some people enjoy stealing money, robbing good people, scaring them. I mean, literally scaring them, to the point where I've gotten calls from clients that were seriously shaken, because they were the victim of somebody trying to scam them. And that's why, what I do now is I try to educate people. And one of the ways I do it is if anybody has a question, a comment, they're in some kind of situation, I like to invite you to book a free chat with me. I'm more than willing to help anybody that has a question, more importantly, a problem, a situation that they're going through with the IRS or even the state and local governments. From my experience, a lot of times I can get right to the root cause of the issue, come up with a solution or a way to deal with the issue. 95% of the time or more, they're easily solved. There's situations that are easily fixed. But unfortunately, not everybody has 40 years of experience in dealing with the government like I have. Okay, so let's go on to some of these scams. First, I'm not going to talk about any specifics. I'm going to tell you about what not to do. Although I can tell you, one instance when I had a client. Now he runs a pretty large trucking company, so it's not like he's ignorant or ill-informed. He knew that he has me and that there was uh, something wasn't right because this is how the conversation went. He calls me. He says, "Joe, my wife just got a call saying that if we don't pay $3,000 right now, that the IRS is going to arrest me when I get home from work. Is this real? Is there something I should know about? Did you make a mistake on my taxes?" And, I sort of laughed, but I said, listen, at that time, there was a huge, huge telephone scam going on. They wound up nailing the guy. I think he was from India, but he had a lot of people all over the country perpetrating this scam where they would call people and say, basically threaten them that if they did not pay up right away, that they were going to get arrested. Even my aunt, who worked at the IRS and actually took the calls, they tried to scam her. Now, my aunt knows, and this is one of the tips, if the IRS, because sometimes the IRS will contact you. Okay, they will contact you. It's not that they'll never contact you on the phone, but more often than not, they're going to just mail you a letter saying that you owe taxes and whatever. That's the prevalent way. You're never going to get a phone call before you get a letter. If you get a phone call, it's because something's been going on with your account for quite some time, and rather than take more steps, levy your account, attach your assets, maybe they just want to resolve the issue and give you one more chance. So I'm not going to say that they will never call you. Okay. I got a call from the state government. Now, this was different. I live in New York State, and they're looking for money too, just like the IRS. And the state called me because I had an old corporation that I opened. I never did anything with it. I let it be dissolved by proclamation, which means that I never did anything. I just let it die its own death. Because if you don't file for 3 years in a row, the state says, well, you're not active anymore. You become inactive. And legally, unless that uh, organization has assets, there's nothing. It's a defunct, bankrupt entity. There's no assets, and because it's a corporation, I am not personally liable. So the state actually called me up saying, that I had unfiled returns, and I said, yeah. That well, first they asked me if this was my company, and I said, Yes, it was. We never actually did any business. I incorporated it in 2016 and never had any transactions, never opened up a bank account. So I just let it be dissolved by proclamation. So she was trying to get me to file the returns. And I know what happens because it's a it's a problem. If I filed the returns, okay, I would have got hit with interest and penalties for late filing. And not only would I have to file one return, I would have to file 5 years worth of returns. And so you're looking at thousands of dollars in interest and penalties that they would want to levy on me on the business, on top of paying, the filing fees, which I think it depends every year. I think it's $25 minimum tax. So let's say I went through the time and effort to file those. Then I'm looking at thousands of dollars in interest and penalties, which they legally can't come after me for because it's a corporation. I'm shielded from those actions. So I asked her, I said, "Well, do you realize that I'm not personally liable for this?" And she said, "Yeah, but it's going to be on your permanent record." And I laughed. I said, "What do you mean on my personal? It's not attached to me personally." She's like, "But it'll be on the record that you have this corporation that you never filed returns for and that it's dissolved." So I said, "Well, okay, it's on my permanent record. I don't care. I'm not filing them. Have a nice day." So I believe that's almost borderline. It should be illegal because I'm sure that plenty of people fall for it when they're not legally responsible uh, to file or pay those returns. It happens all the time. People have, you wake up with the greatest idea, you set up a business, you intend on making money, it never goes anywhere and it's dead. It's dead on arrival. It's dead before it even started. And that's what happened with this company. So, just because so first, forget about the scams. If you ever get a phone call like that, or you get a letter saying that you owe money, do not act on it. Okay, what you need to do is if you get a call like that, because it's going to be happening more and more, you get the person's name, phone number, and ID number, because every state and federal employee has to have an ID number. So you get that information and you follow up with them. Hopefully you have a professional that will guide you and tell you if you need to address this. If not, the IRS has a taxpayer advocate, which you can just Google. Just Google IRS advocate. And even the state and local governments, you have other avenues that you could call and get help to make sure that you actually owe them money or it's something that you have to address. So, another just quick story, when they called my aunt, she knows that whenever she speaks to anybody, if they call her or if the IRS was going to call out, which is rare, they have to give, before they do anything, they give you the name and ID number. So what happened is my aunt said, "Oh, you're from the IRS," and the caller said yes. So she said, "Well, what's your ID number?" And the call didn't last too long, after that. My aunt still called me and said, is this was this for real? Are they, because who knows? The IRS, maybe you get an employee that's a rogue employee, they're not following the rules. But obviously, they didn't train her in their scam tactics enough to know that she should have had it. I mean, it would have been more realistic if they call and said, "Oh, my ID number is blah blah blah," but they didn't even know that. So, I don't want to give the scam artists any ammunition to improve their scam operations, but unfortunately, they're out there. So, also as a benefit, as a tax professional, I get special emails that only tax professionals get. These emails don't go out to the general public. They're not on the website. Uh, they're information for people that are in the business. So, and they want us to pass the word along to our clients, which is what I'm doing, passing the word around. And I stand corrected. I believe that this information is on the IRS website, but you probably have to dig for it. Uh, I get 2 or 3 emails a day now with all kinds of information. A lot of it is very, very useful. And I'm going to share some links in here in the chat. Uh, and hopefully, well, if I could figure out how to use the chat. uh, let's close that. And yeah, you know what, I don't even know how to use the chat right now. But somehow I lost it, and if I find it, I'll put these in the chat, but I'll give you the uh, how to find it. So first, what this email says is the IRS will never call to demand an immediate payment or give you a specific payment method, such as a prepaid debit card. That's what they ask you to do, is go and buy a prepaid debit card, gift card, or even wire them the money. Uh, and they say generally the IRS will first mail a bill to any taxpayer that owes money. So they always preface it by saying general. So, and I'm going to preface it by the same thing. You know, Also, you have to remember that the IRS, especially now, is a moving target. They're making stuff up as they go along. It wasn't always like this. It started with COVID because there were just situations that were unprecedented, and even things like the economic stimulus payments. I mean, and the loans and the payroll loans and even the credits. I mean, they had to make up rules literally as they were dishing out the money, and there were no rules, even how to dish it out. And I mean, it was total chaos. Most of it has been resolved. Most of it has the dust has settled, and a lot of the questions that were out there have been answered. Not always in the taxpayer, the recipient's favor, but that's a whole nother uh, story. So let's stick to the prevalent tax scams. And also, the IRS will never ever threaten to bring in the local police to arrest you, okay, or any other law enforcement. They're not going to bring in the FBI. They're not going to bring in Homeland Security. Believe me, if you're running some kind of tax scam, if you are running a tax scam, if you're a criminal and you're under investigation, you're going to know it. You're going to know that there's a problem, okay? Unless it's, something major, unless it's something major. But usually a criminal investigation would start with an audit, a simple audit, and then once they uncover something, once they see something that's really out of whack, then you're going to start seeing the IRS agents with the badges and the guns. Okay. Uh, if it gets to that point, you're probably dealing with other agencies, the FBI, Homeland Security, because they don't take these crimes lightly. If you get to that point, it probably has something to do with money laundering. It could be wire fraud, uh, drug dealing, human trafficking, international scams. So, if you're in that world, you have to worry about local, state, and federal law enforcement. But if you're doing that, you're going to know that you should know that they're watching you. But if you're just a normal taxpayer, you don't have to worry about getting arrested. There's also the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, which I'll cover in another session. Uh, the IRS will never demand that you pay taxes without the opportunity to with an appeal. And that's part of the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. So you're never going to have to uh, pay now and ask questions later. If they want you to pay money, you have all kinds of opportunities to put a hold on it, to request information, to get representation. And then even then, if they still want money from you, you have the right to appeal. Okay, so again, the Internal Revenue Service is not the law. The Internal Revenue Service is an administrative agency, and they're charged with carrying out the laws, the tax laws. But they're not, and I've said this before, they're not the end all be all, because if they were always right, there would be no tax court. So that's the great equalizer. Just because the IRS says something doesn't mean that they're right. So now, and these are all phone scams. I should clarify that these are all phone scams. So you might get called for any way. Just if you get called from an IRS representative or an alleged IRS representative, just remember it's very simple. They got to give you their name, position, and ID number. And if they do, you take it down, you hold them accountable. Also, these calls are all recorded. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Don't panic if you get a call. It doesn't always mean that they're right or that you owe money. A lot of times it's just that they want clarification, they want more information. Okay. Uh, so then this is what the IRS suggests you do. The first suggestion is what I just told you. You hang up immediately. You record the number if it's but the chances are if it's a scam, it's probably a number. It's a fake number or a number that you can't trace. So now what they want you to do, it's you go to the IRS impersonation scam reporting site, and you can just Google it. Just say IRS impersonation scam reporting form, or you could call this number 800-366-4484. And it's important. It's important that you do it because these people need to be held accountable, and the IRS really they will take the information, and once they see how big the scam is, you let them do their job. Okay, hopefully they'll ferret these people out. Or you can also email phishing. That's phishing at irs.gov. Okay, and you put in the subject line IRS phone scam. Okay, and also you can always go to the IRS. You can just do a Google search on IRS phone scams. Believe it or not, that's usually how I do stuff that doesn't come directly to me from the IRS. But anything that I want to find out, I just Google it. Okay, like most people. Hope that this gave you some valuable information. If not, I don't know what to say, but you should, beware of any kind of phone call. It's not just the IRS. There's all kinds of scams, especially on your cell phones. Okay, so this has nothing to do with the IRS, but if you get a text message or an email message from an unknown address, do not open it, because what they're doing now is they're trying to get a hold of the information on your phone. So I've gone on long enough. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. God bless, and I will talk to you again. Uh, Another. Oh, I found how to see okay. So Gary Z is a CPA. They say if he says, thank you, Gary. If a caller is a scammer and you ask for the name ID number, uh, yeah, if they knew anything, they might make it up. But what happened with my aunt, Gary, is it flustered her. The call didn't didn't last too long. My aunt got her. People don't know what my aunt knows because she worked at the IRS. And you're welcome, Gary. So Gary says, here, let's see if I can. I teach fraud and ethics. Thank you, Gary. If you want, I'd love to have you in our mastermind group. What we do is we meet every week on Fridays at 11:30, and you can just go to Mastermind with Joe. We have other accountants join us frequently, and I would love to get your input on your experience working with some of these miscreants and people. So I'm glad you enjoyed this. Again, God bless everyone. Thank you, and I will see you again for another amazing episode of How to Win a Business. Thank you.